The headline on this one: the deepest sinkhole in Florida has a deadly secret. Here's why you should stay away.
For centuries, Florida's coast symbolized beauty and escape, but now scientists warn they may be hiding a nightmare beneath the waves. In recent months, U.S. authorities issued a sweeping shutdown of key coastal zones, halting tourism, marine traffic, and offshore activities. Not because of storms or hurricanes, but because of a series of terrifying discoveries deep below the seafloor. What researchers found wasn't a reef, a shipwreck, or a rare sea creature. It was something far more ominous: a vast network of oceanic sinkholes, massive voids stretching hundreds of feet across and plunging into the Earth's crust. Some were so large they could swallow skyscrapers whole. The implications of these formations are staggering, raising questions about Florida's geological stability, ecological future, and even its survival as a coastal state. The discovery, more than just blue holes. It all began with a routine hydrographic survey conducted in the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic waters off southeastern Florida. Oceanographers initially believed they had stumbled upon blue holes, natural underwater depressions that are fairly common in the region, but the scans told a different story. The cavities were far deeper, wider, and more symmetrical than any blue hole. Remote-operated vehicles, ROVs, confirmed the unimaginable. These weren't isolated sinkholes, but part of an expanding, interconnected network. Unlike typical land sinkholes caused by water erosion, these oceanic voids appeared to be triggered by freshwater channels, methane pockets, and destabilization of the continental shelf itself. Then came the chilling discovery: subtle but consistent tremors and acoustic anomalies echoing from within the holes, suggesting ongoing subterranean movement. In just 1 year, an area previously stable had transformed into a sprawling system of deep chasms, some over 1,000 feet in diameter and 800 feet deep. Imagine looking at a calm ocean, knowing beneath it yawns a collapsing abyss capable of devouring the very land you stand on. The federal shutdown, a drastic measure. The U.S. government wasted no time. Coordinating with the U.S. Geological Survey, USGS, NOAA, and Homeland Security, federal authorities shut down large sections of Florida's coastline. Cruise liners rerouted, naval operations shifted, and even recreational diving was banned. Why such drastic measures? Because the sinkholes were not merely a geological curiosity. They posed a direct threat to Florida's already fragile foundation. Much of southern Florida is built on porous limestone sitting barely above sea level. If the sinkholes spread inland, they could destabilize cities like Miami and Tampa, leading to infrastructure collapses, groundwater contamination, and widespread flooding. The military's involvement raised eyebrows. Specialized monitoring equipment and naval surveillance hinted that this was more than an environmental issue. It was a matter of national security, ecological consequences, oceans in distress. But the danger doesn't stop at infrastructure. Florida's marine ecosystems are already showing signs of unraveling. The sinkholes are active flux zones, releasing cold seeps, methane, and temperature anomalies that have begun altering marine life. Fish that once swam in predictable schools are now vanishing altogether or appearing in places they don't belong, darting in chaotic, erratic patterns as if fleeing from some unseen threat. Fishermen report empty nets where waters used to teem with life, while divers describe eerie silences replacing the usual symphony of the sea. Meanwhile, the coral reefs, long celebrated as vibrant underwater cities, are bleaching and collapsing. Entire stretches of reef that once glowed with color now stand as ghostly white skeletons, lifeless and brittle. Scientists attribute much of this to warming waters, but the speed and severity of the die-off suggests something more is at play, something lurking beneath the surface that defies simple explanation. Even the tiniest organisms, the plankton, are behaving in ways that can only be described as unnatural. Their glowing bioluminescence, once a gentle shimmer in the dark, now bursts in bizarre synchronized patterns, as if they are responding to a signal we cannot detect. Some divers have compared it to coded messages flashing from the depths, an otherworldly communication not meant for human eyes. Together, these signs point to an ocean in distress, an ecosystem reacting to forces we barely understand. The question is, are these warnings from nature itself? Or is something else stirring in the darkness below? Most alarming are the methane hydrates discovered around the sinkholes, unstable compounds that, if disturbed, could release massive amounts of methane into the water and atmosphere. This could create hypoxic dead zones in the ocean, or in worst-case scenarios, trigger underwater landslides and tsunamis. If one of these methane pockets collapses, the disaster wouldn't just affect marine life, it could ripple outward, destabilizing entire coastlines. Economic fallout, Florida at a standstill. Florida's economy is heavily reliant on its coasts. Tourism, fishing, shipping, and offshore drilling bring billions each year. But with ports immobilized and marine zones shut down, the economic impact has been immediate and severe. Cruise and diving industries face mass cancellations. Cargo rerouting has disrupted supply chains nationwide. Real estate markets are jittery, with beachfront properties losing appeal. Insurance companies are quietly recalculating flood and collapse risk models. The potential cost, tens of billions of dollars if the sinkholes continue to spread. And unlike a hurricane, this threat is silent, invisible, and ongoing. The science deepens strange phenomena below. As researchers probed further, the anomalies only multiplied. Hydrothermal emissions were detected, suggesting hidden geothermal corridors beneath Florida, previously thought geologically dormant. Electromagnetic fluctuations interfered with instruments, hinting at distortions in local magnetic or gravitational fields. ROVs lost communication, some reappearing hundreds of meters away from their original positions. Even stranger were the biological discoveries. New species of fish and microorganisms thrived around the sinkholes. Some organisms moved in hive-like coordination, responding to unseen forces. Bioluminescent sponge colonies contained rare earth metals and isotopes linked to meteorites or deep mantle rock, sparking theories that these ecosystems had been evolving undisturbed for millions of years. Cultural and psychological ripples. Beyond science and economics, the discoveries are reshaping local culture and psychology. Coastal communities report strange sounds, low hums, and muffled booms coming from the ocean at night. Fishermen speak of dead zones where nets sink unnaturally as though dragged downwards. Indigenous groups interpret the events as the earth reclaiming balance, echoing ancient stories of the sea swallowing land. Artists are painting visions of collapsing coasts, glowing seas, and abyssal monsters. The ocean, once Florida's lifeline, is now becoming its silent adversary. Theories. What's really happening beneath Florida? Scientists are scrambling to explain the phenomenon. Several theories compete for dominance. Ancient cavities awakening. During the last ice age, Florida's now submerged shelf may have contained vast limestone caves. Rising seas and shifting pressures could now be collapsing them. Destabilized aquifers, freshwater aquifers beneath the seabed may be collapsing under saltwater intrusion, triggering massive voids. Tectonic awakening. Though Florida isn't near a major fault line, seismic tremors suggest microplate activity, hinting at a reawakening tectonic zone. Global phenomenon sonar sweeps reveal similar anomalies near the Bahamas, Cuba, and Yucatan. This may be just one node of a much larger regional shift. Each possibility is terrifying in its own right. If Florida's continental shelf destabilizes, scientists warn of a potential mega tsunami that could devastate the southeastern US coast. A global frontier, lessons beyond Florida. The Florida sinkholes are not just a local issue, they're forcing humanity to rethink its understanding of the planet. International research teams are now involved, including naval scientists from Japan, the UK, and Germany. NASA has even joined the effort, noting that the sinkholes' conditions resemble those of icy moons like Europa, where life might exist deep beneath frozen oceans. In other words, Florida's abyss might hold clues not only to Earth's future, but to life elsewhere in the solar system. As night falls over Florida's coasts, research vessels circle the exclusion zones, their lights piercing the dark. Fishermen whisper of seas that feel heavy, as though the ocean itself is holding its breath. Scientists gather data, but one truth becomes harder to ignore. The earth beneath Florida is shifting in ways we cannot yet predict or control. This is more than geology, more than economics, more than ecology. It is a reminder that the ocean is not a static backdrop to human life. It is a living, dynamic force capable of reshaping the world at will. And so, the question remains, what else lies beneath? The next time you stand on Florida's beaches and watch the waves roll in, remember, beneath that serene horizon may lie an abyss waiting to awaken. Subscribe for more and share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching.